Oh, gosh, I guess I'm the one I need to start, don't I?
You just waiting on somebody to start right. Yeah, that's all right. I understand.
Okay, we'll call this study session to order. Welcome, everyone. And we're here today for the legislative update, so I'll go ahead and pass it over to these gentlemen, Micah and Rob.
So excited.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are here to give you guys the legislative update for the 2026 legislative session. Some quick facts before we get into it. We are about almost 40 days into the legislative session. We've had almost 2,000 bills introduced, 150 resolutions, 2 bills that have been signed by Governor Hobbs and 2 that have been vetoed, as well as 3 resolutions and memorials that have been passed by our legislature. And currently, as staff, we are tracking 142 bills.
By way of a bit of a snapshot about where we are exactly in this session, each of these boxes you see on this slide are some key checkpoints per se. And you see by the check marks that we've passed the start of session, we've passed the deadline to introduce bills, which was about a week, 2 weeks ago. We're nearing the committee deadline, or the deadline to put bills through committee within the Chamber of Origin. That's later this week. Then about a month, 5 weeks from now is when the deadline to have bills go through the other committees, so House bills in the Senate and vice versa. The 100th day of session is kind of a big mark. That's when the session's supposed to end, but we know from previous years that that is very unlikely to actually take place. Every week, the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House can extend the session just by virtue of their position. And really the big thing that causes the session to extend is the budget process. There's a lot of negotiation involved, a lot of discussion. But once that's complete, then the legislature can adjourn sine die, they call it, and close for the year. A couple things regarding this presentation is the caveat that legislation can change at any point, as you all know. Things that could be the case today might be very different on Thursday after amendments and strike everything amendments and whatnot. This update is intended to be a very high-level update, just to kind of put a feel out for what's going on in this session. And so if there are any questions that any of you have, we can follow up on those and answer those. So please don't hesitate to ask questions throughout, or feel free to stop us in the middle of a bill, or we can also answer questions at the end as well.
For our legislative categories tonight that we'll be covering, we have our housing development section, then moving into public safety, elections, then finance, and then finishing off with administration. Starting off in housing and development, we have House Bill 2452. This has to do with data centers. It would require counties with populations over 125,000 residents and sufficient land for data centers, and for thermal and non-thermal electrical generating units, including small modulars with nuclear reactors. This could have a potential impact on the city if the county, say, would put a data center or power generation within city limits. These reactors are underground, they're small, they're not big ones like the Palo Verde one, mostly there to power the data center. And then on that subject of data centers, we have House Bill 2795, that would regulate these, and it would put all of the burden potentially on the federal level and submit the required documents to the Board of Supervisors, removing the county's authority to regulate where these modules would be located, and the potential for these small module reactors to be constructed within the county near a residential development within near the city limits.
And now for a good bill, potentially, this bill, HB 2793, essentially would really create efficiencies in the annexation process. Now it's very limited in scope into where it could apply, in order to only really apply if there's a single landowner that wants to be annexed and the like, but it would be a benefit to certain specific annexations and developments. Now for Senate Bill 1241, this bill allows property owners and contractors for single trade residential projects, and by single trade, by definition, meaning you have a plumber or a electrician, but like one trade present on the project rather than, say, multiple trades working together for some kind of a project. But for a single trade project, that landowner or property owners can be able to do private permitting, private building plan review, private inspections, with a third party rather than going through the building department, say here with the city. And so, and then on top of that, the city also has to track all of those permits that are being reviewed by third parties as well. And so the concern with this is that the third-party review process, that's something that the city would not have much control over, where that could be something that the city can't go inspect and ensure that everything's being done up to code, so to speak. And there also could be a hit to permitting revenues as well, which would be a decrease in the revenues that the city generates. And then also be an adjustment to the administrative process that the building department has. And now for a set of mirror bills, House Bill 2588 and Senate Bill 1431 are essentially identical as mirror bills. So if they pass their respective houses, then they don't switch chambers, they just go straight to the governor for signature. But essentially these bills would prohibit cities from really setting any kind of design standard with the developments in the area, that involving specifically aesthetics and layouts, colors, and the like. And building codes, fire codes, all of that stuff will still be required as part of a life safety type issue. But a lot of the other things, the levers that cities could pull per se to be able to create a nice development will be limited. And so the concern with that is that local control we've talked about so much over the last few months will really be stripped away if this bill were to pass. And really the strength, I guess you could say, or the control would be put in the developer's hands, where the developer can choose what the development looks like more so than the city who's looking to create a cohesive community across developments and not just within a single development. So those are some of the concerns with that bill.
And now moving on to our public safety section, we have House Concurrent Resolution 2004 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 1004. I'd like to remind the Mayor and Council that with concurrent resolutions, they do not go to the governor. If passed, they go straight to the voters, and that would be for the election in November and the fall. This would prohibit police departments and municipalities from using photo enforcement systems for things like traffic stops, red lights, rolling through stop signs. Currently, the city does not utilize this type of technology, but it would remove our ability to utilize in the future if that was something the city would like to do. And now for Senate Bill 1111, this gives us some guardrails to do with the flock technology and similar things like it. It would allow law enforcement to continue to use this technology, but only for criminal investigations, as well as local missing or endangered persons. And it would prohibit it from any non-law enforcement purposes and require some accountability as far as what to do with the captured data and provide mandatory training to those using the technology as well. And it would exempt all of the data from ever being a part of a public records request.
Before we move on to elections, I wanted to check briefly if there are any questions so far with any of the bills from anybody. All right. So for elections, House Bill 2022, this bill has actually been signed by the governor already, as I'm sure you're all aware, and essentially just moves the primary election date up forward 2 weeks. And so along with that new primary date of July 21st, the deadline to submit petitions is now March 23rd, and also the deadline for new voter registration is on June 22nd. Now for Senate Bill 1054, this bill, I guess for a little bit of background, currently there is no ability for an action taken by the council, such as a resolution or ordinance with an emergency measure, to really be challenged by referendum, because the idea is it's an emergency, it needs to happen, needs to take place. This bill would essentially strip that protection away so that if there was any kind of measure that had an emergency measure associated with it, it would be open for a challenge by referendum just like anything else. And so the concern with that is that if there's some kind of action that needs to be taken and the council goes to take action, then any citizen, any entity can be able to essentially pause that and really bog down the action while the whole referendum process is playing out, and has the potential for that to be overturned depending on the situation.
And now for Senate Bill 1134, this has to do with a change in political signs. This would change the period in which they would be protected from any removal, alteration, or defacement. It would begin 71 days before the first day that early ballots can be mailed, instead of previously what's on the books now, which is 71 days before the election. So we would just be dealing with political signs a lot earlier than previously allowed if this bill were to pass. Moving to the financial section with House Bill 2106, this would require any undistributed revenues from the county transportation exercise tax to be transferred to the Arizona Department of Transportation for a project within the county. Due to lawsuits, the revenue that's been collected from the PRTA half-cent transportation sales tax has not been being distributed to cities for their transportation projects. So this legislation would free up that funding and allow for a portion of that revenue to be used on projects within the city limits here in Casa Grande.
So for Senate or House Bill 2400, this bill would in essence create a motor vehicle tax holiday between May 1st and September 30th each year. The reason for that being, don't ask me the specifics, I'd have to get back to you on it, but as far as the prices, the vehicle or fuel costs go, there's a bit of a spike during that time based on the fuel blend or whatever is required. And so the intent of this bill is to have the taxes reduced so that it's more of an even cost of fuel every single month throughout the year. And the bill does contemplate the fact that that would be a reduction to state shared revenues by having fewer taxes generated. And so there are deposits allocated to the state shared revenue funds in order to help stopgap that decrease. There are two main concerns with this bill. First is that while the initial deposits to help ensure that the state shared revenues aren't decreased for cities and towns, well, the first year or two might be fine. There are concerns based on the formula and based on the deposits and everything that the pot of money, so to speak, would actually begin to shrink over time, and such that there will be less allocated in future years. And then second, the other concern is that if there are fewer, I guess you could say, local dollars generated in Pinal County for transportation projects, that Pinal County cities might be going to the State Transportation Board to try to challenge for, or not challenge, but to request additional state funding and to compete for that. It'll be harder if there's fewer Pinal County local dollars on the table that they can go then take to kind of show their local match. So those are the two main concerns with that bill. Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure what they're saying is take the revenue away from ADOT, but yet have them fund us. But isn't ADOT's revenue mainly from gas tax?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Just being clear on their thought process here. I don't know how they're going to give us the money if they're not collecting it. But. Okay, just making sure I understood. Thank you.
And then for a doozy of a bill, probably the worst bill on the whole list, is HCR 2052. And so this is a concurrent resolution, like Micah said. It would have to go to the voters if it's passed by the legislature. But essentially, excuse me, this bill would prohibit cities and towns from adjusting, increasing taxes, fees, rates, or creating new taxes, fees, or rates for a 4-year moratorium. And that basically locks it in with fiscal year 26. So the current budget that we have, it would lock every single fee, rate, tax as it currently is for 4 years. And so the only way that could be changed is if the voters approve by a 60% threshold that there could be any kind of a new tax or fee or rate or anything like that, or an adjustment to an existing one. And so the concern with that is twofold. First, that the city won't be able to adjust for any kind of operational demands that there might be if maybe the way of doing business changes, that the income will be fixed. Also, the fact that inflation increases from year to year to year, but that's something that the city won't be able to keep pace with, so then the buying power will go down over time. And then the concern from more of a political side is if after 4 years, a lot of cities and towns will likely feel the need to significantly increase fees and rates and taxes in order to compensate for what hasn't been adjusted in years past. But that's always a tough sell to then increase fees and rates considerably at one specific point rather than doing it over time. And so this is a bill that the League of Cities and Towns, that ourselves and other cities are really focusing on to try to persuade legislators to not continue or to see substantial amendments to. But this is definitely a bill to watch out for on this list. And then one for the administration bills, Senate Bill 1167. This bill would allow municipalities the option to fulfill the statutory requirement for public notices to, instead of having to post in the paper, to be able to post on the website instead under a public notices section. And the benefits of this is that it's easier, it's more efficient per se, but then this language will not require cities to do that. So cities could still elect to put it in the web and on the newspaper for more public engagement, for reaching different demographics to ensure that all residents are aware of whatever the public notice may be.
And then we have House Bill 2118. This has to do with mobile food vendors. This would stop any city or town and county from requiring a license for a mobile food vendor. Currently, here in the city of Casa Grande, we require all mobile food vendors to receive a business license. This bill would reduce the city's ability to regulate it, which could lead to a lack of ability to address any complaints from residents about specific food vendors. Thank you. That is all for our very first legislative session for 2026. Any questions from the mayor or council?
Any questions? Go ahead.
I, of course, have something to say. I wish that we didn't oppose so many of these bills. You know, I'm not sure who they're representing. I did invite all three of our legislators to come tonight. In their defense, they are working on these bills late into the evening right now, which is fine. You didn't have anything about the food tax on there? Did that one die?
Yeah, Councilmember Herman, that is correct. There were bills introduced. It made a resurgence when there was a striker bill introduced, but that was basically pulled down by leadership, and so it's,
Okay.
for now, dead.
Could come back on Thursday.
It could come back on Thursday. We're all hoping not.
Well, that's good to hear that, but I just hope that, I know that all of us, especially Lisa, I know, and you guys are in contact with them a lot, and I hope that you take everyone, and, you know, lets them know about usurping our local control. If the food tax, so the rental tax, as an example, last year, one of my personal things, they took away the rental tax, which in Casa Grande would have been a nice amount of money this year, and the bond that we voted for, that's going forward, that rental tax revenue would have almost made the payments on the bond for us. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff, the state takes that revenue away from the city, but it doesn't hurt their budget at all. It's only our budget. And does it help the residents? Yeah, you know, nothing against people that live in rentals, it's fine. But it's just that was a revenue source that we had been counting on, and now we're filling holes in our budget for the next forever, you know, as we get more and more rentals online. So it's just, you got to pay attention to these things because it sounds great. Oh, no rental tax, but, you know, that's general fund type money, so it pays for everything that we do. So it's just our jobs to keep an eye on them and make ourselves heard. So, thanks.
Any other comments? No, and I appreciate it. I know Rob has been pretty active this legislative session so far, keeping up to date. We have weekly legislative updates, you know, with the League of Cities and Towns, and so Rob sits on that. Mike, I think you are in those meetings too. So we're, you know, definitely on top of different bills, you know, with the League of Cities. You know, I know, you know, some people think it's a political organization, and, you know, the state of Arizona has 92 cities, and about 55% of them are run by Republican mayors, and 45 are Democrat mayors, and no one really cares. You know, we're all trying to focus on what's important for cities, and so the League has done a really good job addressing some of these concerns that we have and getting input from the cities. And so Rob I know we've signed a few letters in support, some against things. I haven't gone to testify yet, but I believe aren't you going to tomorrow? Are you going?
Public Works will be taking that
Okay.
testimony tomorrow.
Okay, so we're, you know, when they think we need to be there, we're going to definitely try to be there to represent the city. But yeah, it's going to probably be a long few weeks, I would imagine. Things change every day. So, but thank you. Thank you for everything, both of you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, members of the council, if I can just add one item, and the public will see this in more detail with our strategic plan that we'll be bringing to council in March. When the council went through their strategic agenda sessions, having more of advocacy related to legislative items were one of the goals. And so, again, this is a work in progress. It obviously takes a fair amount of time to stay on top of this. Fortunately, we were able to get Micah from ASU and the MPA program to assist us on that front. So thanks to Micah and Rob. But as we continue to move this forward, we're always looking for any feedback that the mayor and council may have from an advocacy perspective in areas that you'd like to see more information or any changes. We do plan on having 2 updates in study session format. This is your first one towards the end of the session that ultimately will kind of capture what bills were passed and signed into law. That'll give the council a better perspective. Very likely that will be followed by a document that the League of Arizona Cities puts out each year called the New Laws Report. So we'll track that as well for the mayor and council. But any additional information you need, don't hesitate to give us a shout.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item. That's you, right, Larry?
It is, Madam Mayor. So tonight, we are going to finalize what I consider to be the technical components of our effluent allocation strategy. And we've got a number of slides that will ultimately culminate to a slide that has 4 questions for the mayor and council. But I thought that given the fact that we spent a couple of months getting to this point, it would be good to give the council a bit of an overview of at least the particular section that I'm going to be looking for direction from you this evening. And many of the first slides that I'm going to show came from Catherine Sorensen with ASU. It's a recap of what she introduced that night. Obviously, you've had a chance to get an update from Arizona Water Company on the ADOS. That continues to advance. And so really you'll see some of the similar slides, but more importantly, we'll focus on beginning to get council's perspective from an allocation model or allocation methodology. And from here, what we will be doing is, as a team, we'll be working on crafting a narrative document that can come back to the council for your consideration. But I start with the slide that Catherine had shown that evening related to considerations in the identification of priorities, the fairness and transparency. And again, we break that down specifically in Casa Grande for public health, the need for tap water or offsetting the use of groundwater. Again, it leads into conservation, it leads into recharge, it leads into the pumping of our current groundwater. Environmental protection, obviously we're running our effluent down the Santa Cruz Wash, and while there is a significant benefit through our recharged system that we have there, we have neighboring entities that will be very involved in this process. Public amenities, municipal golf courses and parks, we know that effluent can be used for this. Housing development, again, you had an opportunity to hear from the Arizona Water Company folks of the importance of effluent in context of the new ADOS program. And then finally, in industrial commercial uses, which is typically direct delivery, and I'll talk a little more about that here in a second. But you may recall that Catherine was able to provide the mayor and council with some methodologies that I think would be good, that I felt would be good to remind you of. First come, first serve. I think as we go through additional slides here, you'll see that really has been our strategy from the city for a number of years. You've got the first come, first serve within that should be sector allocations, not section. We'll talk a little more about that. I think again, it's happening naturally within our current processing of effluent and use of effluent today. You also have the opportunity to allocate to the highest economic benefit. There are some advantages to that, as there are with cons, and then allocation of effluent over time. So really those are the methodologies that we have focused on as we've put the information together for the council. I've added a new bullet to Catherine's slide, which basically is account for current volumes separately from new volumes produced under the ADOS program. Again, that is I guess I would call it a policy decision that the mayor and council can elect to make. Certainly, it's one that I think I would encourage the mayor and council to consider, is separating what we're processing today and allocating today versus what will be generated in the future under this new ADOS program. A couple of additional considerations that I wanted to put top of mind for the mayor and council this evening, and it really starts with the discussion about maximizing the use, both the direct delivery and recharge of effluent. And when we begin to get into our current allocation, I think this will make a little more sense. But essentially, at least from the team's perspective, we want to begin to allocate effluent in a manner that will utilize all of the effluent instead of having any excess run down the wash. I personally believe that we have to give serious consideration to recharging to our permit levels which is approximately 3,500 acre feet, because we generate long-term storage credits for that. And in fact, I'll lead some discussion tonight that will get some direction from the mayor and council on whether or not we want to set aside a reserve, much like we do with our general fund balance. And we set aside a reserve that we allocate so much of this effluent that gets generated and turned into long-term storage credits before we allocate any to any specific industry. We want to limit the volume of uncommitted effluent. Again, that goes very closely with item number 1, but again, part of the strategy that I think we ought to be establishing as a goal. And finally, we want to develop a plan for additional recharge opportunities. And I think the city has worked very diligently the last 5 to 7 years on establishing reuse infrastructure. Our recharge of the facility at the Santa Cruz Wash, as well as the reuse line that we built through our industrial corridor. All of those are valuable pieces of infrastructure as we look to efficiently allocate all of our treated effluent. But I do think that we are faced with a day, particularly with the ADOS, that we are going to have to begin to evaluate identifying recharge basins in other locations of the community. And certainly not a topic for today. We probably won't talk about it much when we even bring the allocation strategy to the mayor and council, but something that we need to get on our radar and begin to give some discussion to about either partnering with development to build recharge facilities in other locations and pumping the effluent, the treated effluent, into those before recharge, because of the requirement of the recovery requirement of drawing those long-term storage credits from within a mile circumference of that recharge basin. And so I thought I would provide the mayor and council with a little context of what we're doing today with our effluent. And I know all of you recognize that we're processing and treating roughly 6,301 acre feet. That's a 2024 number, which, just to give everybody a context, equates to 5.6 million gallons of effluent that's being treated on typically a daily basis. We have been allocating, I don't necessarily know that we ever thought of the strategy first come, first serve. We essentially have been looking for customers to allocate this to, allocate the effluent to, along with the maximizing the recharge that we could take advantage of. There is a caveat with the recharge, and that is, and I know that the mayor and council is aware of this, that there is a factor of recharge that takes place should any type of a storm activity and or any other water is running through that wash. We are not able to earn or generate any credits. And so the idea of just simply saying we're going to attempt to recharge 3,500 acre feet is not as straightforward. Because it's unpredictable, and so we are very likely always going to send more effluent to the wash for recharge, knowing that there's going to be some that gets deducted because of the exceptions that ADWR has to generating long-term storage credits. Today we are direct delivering 2,100 and 8 acre feet of effluent directly to the Dave White Golf Course and to the SRP power generation plant. And as the council is aware, as of 2024, we were essentially finding that about 1,352 acre feet were considered uncommitted, meaning they were running through the wash. We weren't getting any credit for it. They weren't being used under a reuse. But given some of the direction with the Cactus Mine and the interest of other industrial users, we believe that we'll be able to allocate that particular uncommitted here very, very shortly. So as you can see, it's without an allocation policy. I guess the message that I'm trying to send is that we've kind of shaped the existing use of our effluent today. This is just a chart that outlines kind of the percentage, and again, I'm sorry for the font size on the percentages. I'll read them to everybody here if you can't see them. But ultimately, what is transpiring today is that we are recharging roughly 47% of our effluent that's being treated. We are direct delivering roughly 32%, and we have roughly 21% that is currently uncommitted effluent. And so when we begin to talk about specifically about proposed strategies, I thought I would start with some goals that I think that I'd like the council to keep front of mind as we go through this exercise, and I want to apply that to the current allocation that we use today. And so ultimately, I believe we ought to be creating an allocation strategy that separates the current volumes generated after the DAWs is implemented, and we hear that we're becoming very, very close to receiving word that Arizona Water Company has received that we ought to be prioritizing recharge until we reach a permitted threshold of 3,500 acre feet. And again, I wish I could sit here today and tell you that's going to take 4,500 acre feet in order to generate 3,500. You will see in the proposed strategy that we begin to attempt to quantify that so you have a better perspective. We believe that the existing volumes should be utilized on a first come, first serve within a sector allocation model. And I suggest that to the mayor and council simply because that's what we've been doing to some extent today. And if these next series of bullets really tie back to that chart that I just showed, 47% of our effluent is being used to generate long-term storage credits, of which 1,370 acre feet have been allocated to Copper Mountain Ranch when they begin their construction efforts there, which obviously has to come after we receive the decision order on our designation of assured water supply. 32% is going to direct deliveries for commercial and industrial use, and 21% today is uncommitted, as I said, but I believe that those will be converted to direct deliveries to commercial and industrial users within the next year. So ultimately, what we have today is a 47% allocation, 53% for industrial, commercial, and 47% for long-term storage credit and for residential. Any questions on that front yet?
I got just a quick question on 3,500 acre feet threshold. So is that set up by the state, by the ADOS program, that's our threshold for our area, or is that for the entire state or municipalities or for our population? How's that threshold?
It is established by the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality and Arizona Department of Water Resources, and it is a permit amount that can be hydrologically proven that you reach that particular threshold of recharge.
So is that on the area of our city, like our square mileage, like, or
It really is based on the size of the recharge basin that you're going to build,
Okay.
the quantity, the volume that it will hold, and the permeability of the ground, the soils under
groundwater,
that, and what is actually under that. As far as the aquifer is concerned. So there is a hydrological study that is a key component to any recharge basin and establishing the permitted thresholds that the state is going to allow. And that's going to vary from project to project,
That's
location to
exactly what I was
location.
going to ask you. That's exactly what I was
Yes.
going to ask you. Okay, thank you.
But in this particular case, and I don't have the exact date we're permitted at the Santa Cruz Wash on the managed facility for 3,500 acre foot a year.
Okay.
So that's a max we could generate there.
For now, is that formula can it change? I mean, anything can change in the future, I guess, but.
Yeah, The permit, we would have to apply for it when it comes up to the expiration date. We'd have to apply for a new permit. Intuitively, I would assume that they're not going, because of the hydrological situation there, we're probably not going to be able to see an increase in the 3,500 acre foot level. Today, we are only generating roughly 2,000 to 3,000 acre feet of credits today. So we could see some increase to what we're generating today based on the volumes, meaning putting more effluent into the wash would generate a higher long-term storage credit.
Right, and that should like help us with future development for their water in the,
Yes.
like the Copper Mountain Basin or whatever.
Exactly.
All that.
Yes.
So as we continue to develop these programs and stuff and put more into the ground, we should be able to pull more out.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. As I said, I think recharge needs to become a key component of the dialogue that we're having, and not only our water, but our effluent dialogue with our partners, Arizona Water Company.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, and so just a couple of other items that I want to keep, I want to make the mayor and council aware of is, number one, new volumes under the ADOS program will need to be we will need to maximize and expand our recharge capabilities. It really aligns with the dialogue that we just had. It's highly likely that we will not have recharge basins just in one location of this community. It's very likely that they will be spread throughout our community. The second is that today ADWR will actually allow for a 33% credit of effluent in regards to the water the volume of water that has been generated through a meter. ADWR will give roughly a 33% credit for effluent to be returned for replenishment and or physical supply. And then lastly, at least I believe today, and I know that this landscape with the new ADOS program is changing and will likely continue to change for the next year or so. Staff has, at least at this point in our discussions with these developers that would like to utilize effluent as a mean of supply or replenishment, we have been having discussions about having an individual development agreement with each residential developer, if you will, in this case. There is another alternative that we ultimately are entering into an agreement with Arizona Water Company and essentially transferring those credits to Arizona Water directly versus going through the development and then having the development transfer those back to Arizona Water. I only bring that to the mayor and council's attention because I do think in the future it may be more efficient to enter into one agreement than doing multiple agreements with multiple developers. But I do believe that given the structure of this ADOS program and even more so the water resources fee that's going to be tied to this, practically every development that occurs in the city will be asking for their effluent back due to some level of cost savings that they can recognize. That's just intuition that I have at this point, but given the format of the program, it looks like it's very likely that more and more of these developments, while today they essentially will just expect that we're going to process it and treat it, and they haven't really given much thought about the usefulness of effluent. I think that this new ADOS program is going to change that mindset very, very quickly with the development community. And David's here. I don't know if he agrees with that. Yes. So with that being said, really what I'm looking for tonight is some feedback from the mayor and council, some input to a couple of questions that we've got that really will help us shape the narrative document that will come to council for your consideration on an effluent strategy. And Jody and I were talking before the meeting, and obviously this is a very complex topic. I recognize that. There's no right or wrong answers tonight. We ultimately are wanting just to kind of get a sense of the direction. I attempted to use what I would consider to be the unofficial allocation model that we use today, just to give the mayor and council a flavor of what something might look like. But the reality of it is a couple of things. Number one, you can set whatever percentage to whatever sector of industry that you would like, or you can say, no, we're going to save it all, right? So really what I'm looking for is just a little direction. And but I want to start with prioritizing recharge over direct use. And I think it's an important element that if we want to ensure that we maximize that 3,500 acre foot of long-term storage credit, then we very likely are going to want to ensure that we're putting a volume into that wash that can achieve that. I will tell you that from the modeling that we've done, it's probably another 5-6 years before we come close to that, just based on our volumes and our current allocation that we have to the industrial uses. But I think it's important, because the last thing that staff would want to do is begin to go out and try to continue to sell effluent to a direct delivery if we're wanting to maximize that 3,500 acre foot. So let's stop there or let's start there and get some feedback from the council on that.
But I've got one question.
Yes.
You had mentioned something earlier about having a reserve,
Yes.
which I like the idea. We do it in our budget. We should do it
Yes.
here. Where would you see that reserve being held?
I think, and thank you for that segue, because I think it goes right here in this particular discussion. At least in my mind, the reserve, we're going to want to recharge it, and we're going to want to generate a long-term storage credit that can be used in the future.
Okay,
It's
so
not a direct
we would
delivery
hold back
today.
we reserve some of
Yes.
our credits. to-
Some of the discussions that we've had, as Ms. Sorensen pointed out, we can't find another city that has an effluent allocation strategy, at least in Arizona. Some of the discussions we've had as a staff, and both internal and external team members, is somewhere in the vicinity of 15 to 20% reserve that ultimately gets set aside annually through a recharge. It would be part of that 3,500, but we would account for it and attempt to generate that annually as our number one priority. So it's, to me, they work very closely together, but any direction would be good on that.
And I'm in agreement as well with Brent. You know, we gotta recharge that. We have to make money off of that. And let that grow instead of going and just really giving away everything and not making nothing from it.
Right.
Then it puts us in a hole. And then when we talk about, okay, we got these parks coming up, we got some more building coming up, then that puts us in a hole. So I think the recharge is the right way to go with it as well.
Yeah, and I agree with Anthony. It's nice to get something out of our wasted water that we're just throwing down the Santa Cruz Wash right now. It's nice to get something today, but we really got to prepare for the future. I mean, it just goes down to common sense it'll be such an asset for our city in the future to have that we've banked away
Right.
for future development and all that. I get we should proportion a small percentage of that to today, that
Yes.
we can actually use some of those assets today. But I think banking that away for future city use is highly advisable, you know?
Yeah, it's wisdom, been smart.
Yeah.
It's been smart about it, to the best of our ability with things that we have coming up. We're really thinking about down the road.
Water problem ain't gonna go away. I mean, we're always gonna have this water issue, and it's gonna get worse in the future. So, I mean, they might change things in the future, and it would be thankful that we banked that away in our.
Go ahead, Matt.
I wanted to agree, yeah, but they might change, they're gonna change things in the
They're
future.
gonna, yeah.
I mean,
just
we
thinking
didn't know
that,
this
yeah.
3 years ago, right? About what's going on today.
Yes.
We've been working on it for a long time, but I don't want to harp on it, but the future storage credits, that's the key right there.
Yes.
Because we don't
Yes.
know. And we're not getting credit for all of them. We've discussed that, of selling off what we're not getting credit for. So
Right.
that's my opinion, yes. Prioritize, get the recharge, because we don't know what we don't know yet.
That's right.
Yes.
So I'm hearing prioritizing recharge. Yeah, 15 to 20%, we can run some models just to give the council a better perspective as we look to finalize that. Is that a range that?
15 to
that the
20% for
council-
recharge, or 15-20% for
Reserve.
sale?
15 to 20% for reserve of the recharge.
Okay. 15 to 20% for recharge, you said?
To reserve.
Recharging and
reserve.
setting aside
Yeah.
for reserve.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Is that?
That seems like a reasonable number.
I was thinking 20.
And then once we put the numbers together, then we can.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, about 15 to 20%,
I was thinking
so
20 to 25.
20, 25. but-
And we
yeah.
can run it out to 25 just to give everybody a context.
yeah.
And today, the only allocation we have under long-term storage credits is the commitment to Copper Mountain Ranch today. So you'll have a chance to take a look at the volumes.
And that's what I was gonna ask. So if we do 25%, is that 75% if we're gonna divided or, separated into the different, categories or, well, not categories, what is it?
He said buckets.
Yeah, buckets, whatever. Is that enough for like the requests we're getting today? Because we seem to, there's interest,
Yes.
people are waiting
Yes.
to see what's going to happen here. So is that a reasonable number to work with?
Mayor, I think it's a good number for us to start our allocation. I truly believe that we will face a day, I don't know when, but that we're gonna have to be very cautious of our allocation so we don't overcommit
Right.
as we, I'm envisioning from that we create some type of a model that we're tracking this annually, likely with some type of an annual report coming back to the mayor and council. But at the end of the day, I think it's a good start today because we don't have any other commitments besides Copper Mountain Ranch. But I do think that we will find that as the new ADOS program comes about, that there'll be more requests for that.
Right.
And as our population grows, is our affluent should grow with that. Is it going to grow in that same ratio as what we've experienced in the past?
That is the unique thing about effluent is that typically you're going to see some similar growth patterns with that. Obviously, we're finding today that with the low usage, the conservation, and the like, really, that is, we've seen a bit of a changing pattern, if you will, but
So it won't be linear.
ultimately, I believe that we'll get to a point where many of these new policies related to, water conservation and the like will be implemented, and we will be able to measure it. In fact, one of the bullets I had is that I do believe that in the near term that we will have a better understanding of the amount of water that's being pumped into these and used at these various meters. We will have a much better indication of how much of that is actually coming into our plant. We'll be able to measure side by side with Arizona Water in this as we move forward.
As we keep
So do we
keep collecting
evaluate
data.
it every year where we
I
are,
think so, Mayor.
revisit, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I think in these early years, it's going to be something
Right.
that becomes an annual evaluation,
Right.
very likely a report and evaluation. And again, I want to stress, I had said this early on in our discussions, and as we started these sessions, one of the reasons we're establishing this as a strategy is that we want a little bit of flexibility in it today because there's still a lot of things taking shape.
Right.
Obviously, the council can always elect to make it a formal policy and ultimately amend it, on an annual basis. But I think to start, what we're looking for is really to get a better understanding of the lay of the land, of how water and effluent are going to work
Right.
together.
And Larry, and I just appreciate it, I know over the last year, and I know all of us have been, we get requests, interest, and, what do we do? So I just appreciate us going through these exercises and, getting Arizona Water coming in, giving the information. We had ASU and taking some of our current data
Yes.
and trying to, put together something that,
Right.
so it's going to help us make decisions in the future.
100%.
Right.
So-
I will say, and you'll begin to see some of the modeling, we have, just to answer the growth, obviously higher population, more industry, typically you're going to have more volumes of effluent. We have elected to take a somewhat conservative approach in modeling our volumes for this particular initiative at 1.6 to 2% increases. That seems to match some of the groundwater usage that we've seen, the data that we've seen from Arizona Water and the like. So that's where we start, but I see us having to refresh that annually as part of the discussion. All right? So,
Sounds good.
so I've made my notes there. Let's go to the second question, which is there a proposed allocation methodology that council would prefer to utilize? And like I said, I think that if you would have asked us as staff, we would have said first come, first serve. Although if you look at the way we have entered into I shouldn't say our approach, but the usage patterns is how I would apply that. You'll find that it's 53-47% today, industry and commercial to residential. Personally, I feel like finding a balance. I think there's a lot of argument that you try to find a balance for that, knowing that the mayor and council can certainly allocate more out of one pot
Right.
on an annual basis if somebody makes an ask. But I think for the document, we want to make sure that we're starting with a number. So we've we've suggested 50/50, but certainly want to get council's perspective on that tonight.
I think we're already,
50, yeah.
we're already at that, pretty
much
close to
Close to it,
Yeah.
53,
So, and if
47.
we remain there, I think we will be okay.
Yeah, I think the
50-50,
important,
I mean.
I think the important message is that can be considered
Yes.
on a case-by-case basis by the mayor and
Yes.
council. That can be modified by the mayor and council as well, right?
Yes.
This is just, as we're starting to account and as people are approaching, we want to establish some justification for how we're approaching it.
Sure.
Because that could adjust where it'd be the opposite. It could be
Right.
residential
Right.
and
Right.
industrial drops down.
Right.
But right now, with what we have going on within our city, we got a lot of industrial.
Right.
And so that's why that.
And it gives us a baseline, so we know where we are now, so, you
Yeah.
know, how we
Right.
came up with that, you know, the 50/50, so, yep, the 50.
I just answered question 2 and 3 together, I think. We're
Yeah.
gonna first come, first serve with a sector and 50/50. And, how's the council, how do you feel about us separating the current volumes that we're generating from the volumes that are generated under the new ADOS program? Again, from a staff's perspective, I think it's important today because, of the changing landscape that we're gonna see with water. And I honestly believe that, as I said before, we're going to have requests from practically any new development that comes to town, both commercial, industrial, and or residential, because of the importance that it has in the ADOS program. And so that would not stop the mayor and council from allocating additional that we have under our current system today. But from an accounting perspective, I'd like to account for them separately as we're providing reports and trying to keep that allocation, representing that allocation to the council and to the community in the future. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. So, to that point, I was gonna say to separate, I agree with separating it, because if you have a residential development, they're gonna want 100% of their water back, right?
Right.
And if we have a bunch of residential on this new program and only a little bit of industrial or vice versa, but do we build into that too a reserve on that side? Like, do they get 100% of it back, or do they get 75 and we get 25 to bank?
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of something I think we need to discuss, because they need to chip in on our total plan, because that's the one thing that we talked about, is we have to look at it as the whole system, even though we're only doing the 1 mile, but it's the entire Casa Grande system that we're working with, in addition to Arizona Water, you know?
I was trying to go back to the slide that had the 33% allocation. I think there's going to be a built-in reserve that
Okay.
starts at the front end, but certainly it's something that as we're working through this a bit more, we can have dialogue on. But meaning, I think we're going to generate more effluent than just 33% that's being that's going
Yeah.
through the meters.
But if they get 100%, do they get 100% back, or do they get a percentage back?
Yeah, at this
Of their-
point,
of their
point,
credits.
the dialogue that we've typically had with the few developers that are primarily residential that have expressed the opening through the ADOS program to move their projects forward, we have talked specifically about 33%.
Okay,
So there's a built-in reserve to that, I guess
Okay.
is what
okay.
I'm trying to express.
So
Yes.
what I was talking about, you already got.
That
Right.
reserve.
But I would agree that we need to separate those volumes.
Right. Again, the important message is mayor and council has the authority to utilize some of our existing volumes if they'd like to pledge that to a project, a specific project, but separating it, I think, just gives us a better opportunity to account for the change that we're about to deal with.
Because we don't know what opportunities may come up. You know,
Right.
There might be something big that needs water.
That's right.
Well, I think I've got all the answers I needed from council tonight. Is there any other questions that you might have that I could
Any other questions?
build?
So next steps.
Yeah, so next steps, the team, both internal and external staff will be working on this strategy document that we will get out to the mayor and council roughly probably in draft form in the next couple of weeks. We've already started building it with more of this detail. And Mayor, I anticipate that we ultimately can present to the council, if you're wishing to adopt that formally. I haven't talked to Brett specifically about that because it is just a strategy. I don't know that we want to adopt it, but I think you have the right to do that. But ultimately, I envision that we can have something by the end of March for council's consumption.
All right. We good? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Comments? Okay,
Perfect,
thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn for 4 minutes. 4 minutes, go to the restroom really fast. Everyone, thank you for being here. We'll go ahead and start the city council meeting, and the first item of the agenda is the invocation, and that's going to be with Bob Skyer from St. Anthony's Church, and it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Mayor Pro Tem Badillon. So if you can stand if you're willing and able.
26 reads, "But Jesus looked at them and said, 'With man this is impossible, with God all things are possible.' So, dear Lord, let us experience the joy of helping the Casa Grande residents and watching Casa Grande grow by smart planning, and with the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, help us grow the local economy, enhance community prosperity and sustainability, attract new businesses, and leave a positive impression to visitors to our city. Constantly remind us to pray, give thanks, seek your advice about important decisions, and we will let you take care of the rest. Help us always to be humble, especially in our successful endeavors, to help us to remember the words of 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 7. Neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who causes the growth. Amen."
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Brent. Okay, Adriana, the next item is the roll call. If you can please accept for the record that all the council is here. Thank you. And next item are the minutes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move we accept the minutes of the city council regular meeting, consider accepting the council meeting, regular meeting of February 2nd, 2026, the city council study session of February 2nd, 2026, the minutes of the part-time firefighters board of trustees meeting of January 28th, 26, the minutes for the planning and zoning commission meeting of January 8th, 2026, and the minutes for the police personnel retirement board meeting of November 13th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item are the claims.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve the list of claims report for January 28th, 2026 through February the 10th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the claims? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries for the claims. And the meeting agenda approval, are there any changes to the meeting agenda?
We have no changes, Madam Mayor.
Okay. And we don't have an executive session, so we're good there. So if we can get a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, a motion, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have a special presentation today. So if I can please ask for Kim and Michael Harper to come up and join me here. Yes, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. And I'm actually going to call the city council to come down and join me too. This is a special presentation for you, and we are just extremely grateful for everything you've done in the city of Casa Grande. Keeping it beautiful and clean. And we know over the years how many people you've recruited and how much time you've dedicated to the city of Casa Grande. So we're proud to read this proclamation in your honor and everything that you've done over the years. And so we are all extremely grateful for everything that you've done. So I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. So Clean Up Casa Grande, whereas a clean and welcoming community contributes to public health, civic pride, and quality of life for residents and visitors alike. And whereas cleanup initiatives led by community members foster civic pride, environmental stewardship, cooperation among residents, and enhance the appearance of the community through selfless service and dedication. And whereas Kim and Michael Harper have demonstrated outstanding commitment by volunteering their time, energy, and resources to establish a community-led cleanup initiative to remove litter, clean public spaces, and promote sustainable practices. And whereas they've grown their cleanup initiative through the social media group Cleanup Casa Grande, consisting of approximately 400 members who collectively have participated in various community cleanup efforts that remove litter, beautify the community, and promote environmental stewardship. And whereas the City of Casa Grande is grateful for their positive example and recognizes the importance of community-led initiatives that build a stronger, cleaner, and more connected community. So now, therefore, I, Lisa Fitzgibbons, the Mayor of Casa Grande, Arizona, hereby proclaim that the City of Casa Grande recognize and commends Kim and Michael Harper for their dedicated service and contributions through their community cleanup initiative, and extends sincere appreciation for their commitment to improving the quality of life of Casa Grande. So there it is for you. So thank you. Thank you for everything. Yes. And we want to get a picture with you. We just want to thank everyone else here. I know many of these people have, served with you in the community, and so just thank all of you for coming and supporting them, and for, just recognizing, these efforts. It's very much appreciated being here too. So can we just...
Thank you.
Here's a City of Casa Grande pin you can put on your hat or whatever, but thank you again. Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for everything. Thank you. Okay.
Mayors, as the mayor and council are making their way back, I'm not sure if Kim and Mike knew that this was going to be more of a tribute to them tonight. We've worked diligently they are very humble people with a fantastic spirit and certainly a ton of energy. Hundreds of bags of litter regularly. They always had a little trademark because they had a different color bag. They became very well known to our code enforcement staff, but both Michael and Kim told me several times that this was not about them. They wanted to lead a community initiative, but they certainly got behind it. They got the individuals involved. Now you see the ladies in pink. Sometimes you see them out there. They've picked up. But Mike and Kim, thank you for all you've done, and just an opportunity to say thank you for all you have done.
Thank you. Now we have to get on to other business, I guess. Okay, next item is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Staff, council, or anyone from the public? Okay.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Adriana, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beadle?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, public comments. The Casa Grande City Council values citizen input. So when called, please, if you did fill out a speaker card, if not, you can definitely come up. Please state your name and address, speak clearly into the microphone, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. In fairness to all speakers, please try not to exceed your time. In accordance with the law, the City Council can't respond to or discuss items that are not listed on the agenda, but we may direct you to staff upon conclusion of the public comments. So I'll go ahead and start with the speaker cards that I have. And the first one is Barbara Sundust. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, again. My address is 1273 East Cordova Avenue, Casa Grande. I pray that every person sitting here and watching this meeting on TV or whatever stops and reflects on last night. I was sitting comfortably in my TV room eating a heated meal watching the Olympics. I have weather double panes on my windows so the wind doesn't come in or rattle my windows. But I was sitting there watching and comfortably in my room, and I heard the powerful wind blowing outside. Later, I got in my warm, comfortable bed and stretched out to sleep comfortably. Every night, and especially nights like last night, I think of the unhoused people of Casa Grande who have to sneak to find places to sleep, have to huddle against the wind and the rain or the extreme heat, or sleep in their cars, not able to stretch out your legs. Anyway, there must be a building owned by the city or someone else who has a place that is sitting empty that we could use regularly for a place for people to sleep, get a good night rest, or better yet, turn into a shelter where people could sleep, bathe, and get help from various service organizations. And I've lived here for almost 40 years, and with the exception of that one, there was a men's shelter, I think, but with the exception of that, there's been nothing that shelters the unhoused people. So on this past Wednesday, one of the people from Laundry Love, and how many of them live in their cars or don't have a place, and one gentleman, he's older and he looks all frail and everything, and he came and he said to me, I would like a place to stay. I mean, I just want to cry because there isn't one. So anyway, I pray that the community hears this plea and can come together to help the unhoused. That's it. And I have 40 seconds left.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, the next person I have is Rochelle Robinson. You're okay, Rochelle? Okay. Thank you for coming, Rochelle. Kurt Bauer. Hi, Kurt.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Okay.
My name is Kurt Bauer. I live at 228 East Pebble Court, Casa Grande. I'm here about the resolution about the pickleball courts. I am here today to express my unwavering support for the proposed extension of the pickleball courts at Dave White Park. The initiative represents a critical step in addressing the burgeoning demands for this increasingly popular sport within our community and further solidifies Casa Grande's reputation as a city dedicated to the residents' recreational needs. The city proactive investment in improving the existing courts at Dave White Park has already yielded remarkable results. What began as 3 permanent courts and 9 temporary lined spaces were rapidly evolved into fantastic 12-court complex. This incredible transformation has enabled an unprecedented surge in local participation, making pickleball one of the Casa Grande's most vibrant and inclusive activities. However, with various success, we've cultivated what has led to an urgent need for further expansion. Our current courts are consistently at maximum capacity, with players often facing significant wait times during peak hours and even being turned away. The intense demand for a clear indicator that the existing infrastructure while excellent can no longer adequately accommodate all of our rapidly growing pickleball community. As Casa Grande continues to accommodate growth trajectory, too will the demand of high-quality recreational opportunities. Pickleball, within its broad appeal across demographics from youth to seniors, serves as a cornerstone program managed by our dedicated community director and staff. Stands out to be one of the best in the region, fostering a welcoming and enjoyable environment that continues to attract new participants. Approving the current expansion design at Dave White Park would not only alleviate immediate capacity issues, but also elevate Casa Grande to a premier pickleball destination. Imagine a facilities that not only serves our local players, but also draws regional tournaments and enthusiasts, boosting local commerce and instilling profound community pride. This investment would transform Dave White Park into the envy of other cities, a testament to our forward-thinking vision. Thank you for considering the vital investment into our city recreational infrastructure and well-being of its residents. I am confident that approving this expansion will yield immense dividends for Casa Grande for years to come.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else in public comments? Sawyer, sure. And Sawyer, if you can give us your name and address, please.
Of course. Well, my name is Sawyer Barth, and I live on 505 East Wolf Hollow Drive. And so originally I was supposed to be here today with Superintendent Lavender from the Casa Grande Union High School District. But I'm just here today to share with you a speech that I gave at the CG Wins rally remark. And I just want to share it with you guys because I think you share the vision that I have for this city, and I think that it would mean a lot to give it to people who care so much about our Casa Grande community. So good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. My name is Sawyer Barth, and I'm the proud product of Casa Grande and Casa Grande Union High School. Tonight, we celebrate victory. We celebrate youth. We celebrate community. But most of all, we celebrate hope. For what is the point in living today without hope for tomorrow? As we honor achievement in our city, we must take a moment to understand that pride is fleeting, while hope is everlasting. I'm reminded of the words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Light is the byproduct of achievement within our community. Light is derived from the heart of our city as we move toward a better, united future. But sometimes Casa Grande needs a reminder of where our heart rests. Our community is built upon genuine care for one another. A community that uplifts the broken, that comforts the grieving, that cares for the sick, that treats each other like family. I stand in front of this dais tonight, not simply because of what I've done, but because I've been supported, loved, prayed, and cared for by the city of Casa Grande. In my time as a student at Casa Grande Union High School, I've had the opportunity to serve as the student body president for the 2025-2026 school year, a year that has encapsulated numerous personal and school-wide victories that show the success and potential for our community. Whether it's something as grand as shifting culture in a positive direction, impactful manner, to something as incredible as our Cougar Spirit line winning the state championship just this past weekend, bringing back another state title to Casa Grande Union High School. I can proudly say that the youth of Casa Grande are on the move, pursuing ambitions, hopes, and dreams with little evidence to suggest that they are out of reach. On a personal note, in this past year, I've celebrated two great victories, one claiming victory over cancer, and the other being the proud recipient of the Questbridge National College Match Scholarship, offering a full ride to Duke University. This serves as our reminder that we can overcome obstacles, that we can surpass difficulty. This is our evidence that Casa Grande is not to be underestimated. Innovation rests within the youth who are determined to make Casa Grande better. Tonight marks the start of a new zeal for what's next. We celebrate this victory, and we have hope for tomorrow. Tonight we realize that the hope, prosperity, and a future are no longer an unaffordable luxury, but are everyday essentials, motivating the students of our community to spur forward with expectancy, positivity, and joy for what's next. Thank you.
Wow, good timing there. Thank you, Sawyer. Thank you for being here. Thanks for coming today. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Hi there, Marge. If you can give your name and address.
Okay, I'm ready. 901 North Morrison. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I have two praises this evening. The first one is preservation, which you all know is my middle name. So preservation for the Evergreen Historic District. After 20 years, we now have new Evergreen Historic District street signs. And thanks to Dan Coxworth and Steve Miller, it was a wonderful city and county partnership. So this is the first step towards MEBA, and that means making Evergreen beautiful again. So the second praise is for community safety with the flock system. So thanks to Chief McCrory for promoting and the council for adopting the flock package. Our community surveys have always placed safety as a key issue. And this system, I feel, will provide a safer environment for the community, for the police and firefighters who put their lives on the line every day, and the added protection that we deserve. A big shout out for flock cameras in Carmack Nat Park, which is often vandalized, and also for the gunshot sensors that are going up. So it is my belief that this is a benefit to the community that will far exceed first-time doubters. Thanks to the chief and for the council's approval.
Thank you, Marge. Is there anyone else? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public comments. And next item is I-1. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, good evening. This is a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from General Acrylics Incorporated for the construction of 12 pickleball courts, authorizing the expenditure of public funds, authorizing execution of a contract with or purchase order to General Acrylics Incorporated, and to authorize the transfer of budget authority. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council authorize the city manager to award a contract with General Acrylics Incorporated not to exceed $1,339,117.93, and to authorize funds in the total amount of $1.4 million to include a city contingency of $60,882.07 for the construction of 12 additional pickleball courts at Dave White Regional Park, utilizing pricing established through the Mohave Cooperative Services Contract Number 25L-GAI3-0203. On February 18, 2025, City Council approved Resolution Number 5753, authorizing the design and engineering services for 12 additional pickleball courts at Dave White Park. With the design phase complete, staff is requesting authorization to proceed with construction of the council-approved capital improvement project. City staff evaluated 3 potential locations for the new pickleball courts: Valago Park, Ed Hooper Park, and Dave White Regional Park. After extensive review, Dave White Park was selected for its parking capacity and ability to host recreational tournaments with 24 courts at one site. In addition, the court location exceeded the latest USA Pickleball recommendation of a 600-foot noise abatement from nearby housing with a 910-foot buffer. With the location selected, staff reviewed multiple court layout options with the goal of remaining within the existing park. Construction of the 12 additional courts is anticipated to begin approximately 14 days after the notice to proceed, or in early March. The time for construction should take approximately 185 days to complete. The additional pickleball courts will be constructed west of the existing pickleball courts. The project will begin with the demolition of the existing racquetball courts and 2 sand volleyball courts. The sand volleyball courts will be relocated to the south end of the park near the other 2 existing volleyball courts. And the outdoor racquetball court demand is minimal today, but future court reconstruction remains an option should demand return. Public outreach was a key component of this project. Engagement began with a public survey focused on racquetball court usage and continued throughout community input gatherings at community services, advisory community presentations, and on-site meetings with a variety of pickleball player groups. Feedback from this discussion helped inform several design elements of the courts, including gate sizing, court dimensions, court color, and overall amenity prioritization. While we were not able to meet all the requested needs, we're not able to be accommodated within the current project budget. The Community Services Department plans to pursue future capital improvement projects to enhance the new pickleball courts that will be at Dave White Park. From a community enhancement perspective, this project expands access to an active recreational opportunities that promote health, wellness, and social engagement by increasing capacity for one of the city's most in-demand recreational activities. The project strengthens Dave White Regional Park as a community gathering destination for residents of all ages and supports strategic plan objectives by expanding community activities. This project is utilizing established cooperative purchasing contract, which ensures competitive pricing, fiscal accountability, and continuity between design and construction, supporting the city's commitment to sound financial stewardship and efficient project delivery. The total construction cost for 12 pickleball courts is $1,339,117.93, with funding available through approved 4-year 2026 capital improvement plan number 25122, and the contingency of $60,882.07 is from CIP project 25121, which is unused funds from the Carr McNatt Field Improvement Project. And before I open it up for questions, I do want to kind of expand on a little bit about the growth that was kind of talked about tonight already with play at Dave White Pickleball Court. In the early 2000s, it started with players setting up portable nets and temporary lines at the existing tennis and basketball courts. In about 2010, that changed to where there was 3 permanent pickleball courts added in at Dave White Park. And then ultimately in 2019, when Carr McNatt Park was renovated, new basketball and tennis courts were put in at Carr McNatt Park, which allowed for the courts at Dave White Park to get reconverted to 9 additional pickleball courts, so which currently gives our current inventory of 12. Ultimately, with these 12 additional courts, it'll put our inventory up to 24. With also keeping in mind that in the 2023 Community Services Master Plan, in the level of service table index, it kind of indicated the ultimate, by 2037, it indicated the opportunity, the possibility of a need for up to 40 pickleball courts at that time. And again, that's just a planning number, so it did help us kind of lead us in our decisions on, where do we want to put these courts, the site layout, the site plan as not only we look to build for today, but also as we look for opportunities and how that will fit into future expansion out at Dave White also. So I'll certainly open up to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Questions?
Sure,
Matt.
I thank you for bringing up the racquetball court, because I've had a couple people ask me, but I know you did your work and it's not used as much as pickleball, which is obviously the sport of the decade, I think. I don't know, but it's growing a lot, and you've seen, and you guys track that, and things change over the years, but I do appreciate the fact that we have dedicated pickleball now, because I remember the meeting with the tennis and pickleball people here, and it was one of the most heated meetings I remember, and there was an F-bomb dropped even. It was very, very serious. So the need to have separate tennis and pickleball was very noted, and I'm glad that we keep continuing on this path, so thank you.
Questions? No, and again, I just, over the years, this has grown so much, so appreciate you being in tune to what the community is asking for, and I think this is a great location. I mean, it's good to evaluate the 3 areas, but it's going to be a great location. it has been, over the years, we've been getting a lot of comments. And Danny, I commend you also for dealing with the growing pickleball population. There's been challenges, and I appreciate those people that are so passionate and play pickleball, because they've been patient with us and with our staff as we try to work through schedules and try to make sure it's fair and give everyone the opportunity to play. So we've been, trying to work through those challenges, and I appreciate the staff and the public patience. It's hard to believe it's been a year. Time goes so fast. So 185 days, that's a long time, but hopefully you stick to that, and that's not going to be much longer, because I'm sure we have some people that are going to be ready to go and counting those days. But really look forward to growing this sport in the city. So with that, is there anything else? Okay, so if we can get a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5886, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting a proposal from General Acrylics, Inc. for the construction of additional pickleball courts at Dave White Park, authorizing the expenditure of public funds and authorizing the execution of a contract with or purchase order to General Acrylics, Inc.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve resolution number 5886 as presented.
Second?
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hey, Adriana, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem B. Dillon?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. All right, we're getting our pickleball paddles ready, guys. We're gonna get out there. Okay, next item, I2.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council approve a change order with Allison Mills Contracting. This is for contract 0725-18 in an amount not to exceed $748,195. This is for the Peters Road widening project. That project is from Thornton Road to Burris Road in our industrial area. So Peters Road is currently under construction. We're well down the road of hopefully getting that project completed this spring. At the initial time of design, the city worked with all the utility companies to identify any conflicts, and we worked diligently to try and get to a resolve with the San Carlos Irrigation Drainage and District. And towards the end of our efforts, we finally got a decision by the district what was going to be required, and we finished that design. So this will take that project to completion, so we can finish our widening in that area, which is on the north side of Peters Road. The irrigation ditch that runs east to west there. The funds are available for this project within this year's budget. This is a change order to the existing project. This will give us additional contingency funds to finish this portion of the project. However, we do have a contingency allowance remaining for the remainder of the widening project. If this is approved, we should be able to finish this up by April of this year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? I don't think so, Kevin.
like
Oh,
that.
sure.
What was the original contract amount for this? Without the change order?
I do not have that in front of me. I apologize.
Okay, right.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, so if we can get a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5793.1, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving amendment number 1 to the city's contract with Ellison Mills Contracting, LLC, to provide construction manager at risk services for the construction of the Peters Road widening project, from Burris Road to Thornton Road project, authorizing expenditure of additional public funds in an amount not to exceed $748,194.13, and authorizing the execution of an amendment to the agreement.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I would move to approve resolution number 5793.1 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem B. Dillon?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next item, the reappointment of the part-time firefighters of Byron Mays and Doug Curry. I don't know if any of them are here. I don't think I see them. Nope. Chief? Okay. And also Brad Johnson. So we just need a motion to approve the reappointments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you to Byron, Doug, and Brad. And item K1, Adriana.
Mayor and Council, tonight I'm bringing the call of election as a report. While it's not required by statute that it be approved by council, it is brought to council for transparency. However, due to HB 2022, we had to move really quickly to meet statutory requirements, because there is state statute that requires the call to election to be published at least twice in a newspaper of general circulation, at least 1 week apart, 150 days before the election. And as Ralph presented in the study session, House Bill 2022 amended the date of the primary election from the second Tuesday in August, which was initially August 4th, to the second to last Tuesday in July, which is now July 21st. Originally, the bill proposed moving up the election only by 1 week, so that would have given enough chance to bring the call to election, have you vote on it. However, that last amendment happened really quick to where I moved it to the second to last July, and that wouldn't have given us enough time to get it published by the deadline of February 21st. So to meet that requirement, with city manager's approval, I ensured that the notices were published in the Casa Grande Dispatch on February 12 and February 19, 2026. The call of election states that the primary election will be held on July 21st to nominate candidates for mayor and 3 council seats. Under charter and ordinances, if a candidate receives the majority of the votes cast for office in the primary, that candidate is declared elected and will not move on to the general election. In case of a runoff, the general election is scheduled for November 3rd. That was not affected, but it would only be necessary if no candidate earns the majority of the primary. The offices to be filled are the office of the mayor and 3 council seats. Mayor Fitzgibbons has served 1 term and is eligible for re-election. And the council seats of Councilmember Matt Herman, Anthony Edwards, and Bob Huddleston are eligible for re-election. The city clerk's office had an informational session back in October 15 for anyone interested in running to walk them through the process. We did have a candidate packet at that moment. That candidate packet has been updated online. Prospective candidates need to collect between 455 signatures and 908 signatures from qualified registered voters in order to be in the ballot. Moving the primary election also moved out the date of the nomination packet filing deadline. So that will be now March 23rd, 2026 by 5 p.m. It also moved the voter registration deadline to June 22nd for the primary. The general election was not affected, so that still remains October 5th. I've posted the election information on the city website, so that's been updated. The candidate packet is also updated to have all the dates going forward. The call of election was published in the Casa Grande Dispatch, and it has been posted on the website. And physical copies are posted at City Hall in the Communication Center. With that, that's conclude my report. If there's any questions, I can.
Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Adriana. So do we need to, no? Okay, perfect. Okay, so that is it, the last report. So we'll go ahead and start with reports. And why don't we start with Becca? Are you good?
I don't have anything to report.
Nothing to report. Okay, Anthony?
I'm good.
No?
No report.
Matt?
Real quick, the Youth Commission Shredding Day, again, April 26th, First American Credit Union. So bring your stuff to shred, and E-Cycle Electronics. Thank you to the Public Works Department for their help with that. And I used the C-Click Fix app the other day when I was at Dave White Park, and I got a notice today that it was fixed, so it works. So use it, whatever is like a problem with the picnic table, so they'll do anything. So big stuff, little
All right,
stuff,
good.
just report it, and they'll take care of it.
Good, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, Fred?
No reports.
Bob?
No report.
All right,
No
Sean.
reports, I'm good.
good. We were all on vacation for a few weeks. Not really, probably. You guys, there's a couple things on here that you attended. One, Leadership Academy.
Oh, yes.
I know most of
Yes.
you were there for the first meeting, so wanted to thank the staff. And we have a couple members that are participating in the academy, and I think we have 26 student or attendees, and yeah, it was such a variety of people. So thank you to everyone that came to that. The Public Police Department Awards, many of you were there. And so thank you to the Police Department for recognizing some of the accomplishments from our police officers. So it was a great event, well-attended, and appreciate that. The State of the City, if everyone can mark their calendars, is March 4th. We're gonna have some fun videos from everyone here. You guys all finished your videos? Okay, good. Looking forward to seeing them. So if you can all mark your calendars, 5:15, Cascaran Union High School. It's the first time we're doing an evening event, so we're really hoping we can get people, because in the past, people have said that they weren't able to attend because it was in the middle of the day. So hopefully we can get more people to attend this at Cascaran Union High School. And, I've been actually attending some of the other cities, State of the City events. Maricopa's I went to, very nice event. It's nice to go because you can kind of see what's happening in these other cities. And so went to Maricopa's. Florence was the same night, so several of us mayors kind of split up and went to the different cities, but I did get to go to Maricopa. I went to the city of Chandler. Mayor Hartke's really active with the league, and he comes to ours every year. His daughter lives here in Casa Grande, and so it was really good to go to the Chandler one. Definitely a production, not going to be, little low, ours is toned down a little bit. And then I'll be going to Queen Creek's next week. So those are always great events. Terminus Days is coming up downtown on the 28th at 11:30 a.m. So if anyone would like to come there. And on March 2nd, if everyone can mark their calendar, it's the America 250, which is the celebration of the 250 years. Say it. So the 250th birthday. And so we are going to have an event at the Dorothy Powell Senior Center. It's a traveling museum that's going to be coming here to the city of Casa Grande. Danny, I know you and your staff have been working with them. Secretary of State Fontes is going to be here. There's going to be it's an interactive mobile museum, hands-on activities for all ages, a video experience, a replica of the Liberty Bell. There's going to be guided tours starting at 10 a.m. So come on out and support this. We're really fortunate that they are coming to our city, bringing this mobile museum. So, of course, the library is going to be participating, and we're happy to have the Secretary of State here with us on that day. So 10 a.m. on Monday, March 2nd. So please join us. And
You don't want to say semi-quincentennial?
no, I can't. Can't say that. Semi-quincentennial. I can't do it. That's a tongue twister. Okay, I think that's it. That's it. Is there anything else? Anyone? Did we miss anything? I don't know. Okay, so we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. No study session. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Meeting adjourned.